Hello, good day to one and all. Now, I am doing a poem, A Tiger in the Zoo, written by Leslie Norris. It is third poem, 10th standard CBSE. But before I start explaining the poem, I would like to ask a simple question. Do we like if anyone compels us to stay confined in a room for a long time? No, definitely not. We all want freedom of movement. Now, here is a poem that tells us that a tiger is kept in a zoo and its helplessness when it is caged. The poem, A Tiger in the Zoo. The poem, written by Leslie Norris, explains the agony and helplessness of a caged tiger that lives in a zoo. The poet explains what a tiger's life could be if he had been a free animal. The poet has tried to explain about the condition of the animals that are caged by human beings for their own amusement. The poem moves from the zoo to the jungle and again back to the zoo. The poem gives a sharp contrast of a tiger. This poem contrasts a tiger in a zoo with a tiger in its natural habitat. The poem also speaks about the mood and environment of a tiger when he is in a zoo, confined in a cage, or is imprisoned, and when he is in the forest in its natural habitat. Now, let me read the first stanza of the poem and explain. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage on pads of velvet white in his quiet rage. He stalks. Now, who is referred as he in the poem? The name is not mentioned, but as we read further, we come to know it's a tiger. His vivid stripes. It tells that the tiger has wonderful, bright colors of stripes on his body. The few steps of his cage. Here it tells the tiger walks or moves, no noise is made, but he is able to walk only a few steps inside the cage. In his quiet rage, it means that the tiger, when he is in the cage, he is angry because he feels trapped and longs to go out. We can understand here that he is restless and bored in a zoo. Let me explain clearly. The poem A Tiger in the Zoo begins with a description of a tiger that is very beautiful and is walking in his little cage. He has beautiful stripes on his skin and velvet-like soft paws. He is able to walk only a few steps inside the cage. The poet says the tiger is not happy and is quite angry about being confined in the cage, whereas in the jungle it is a free animal and can move long distance whenever he wants. He controls his anger and quietly moves up and down in the cage. Second stanza. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole where plump deer pass. As I said, he in the above lines refers to the tiger. A tiger, when he is in the forest or natural habitat, it usually hides in the shadows of the trees, bushes or long grasses and waits to catch its prey. Lurking in the shadow means the tiger waits or moves in a secret way so that he cannot be seen. He is waiting for a fat deer to pass and is ready to attack. To explain clearly this stanza, the tiger conceals or hides himself in shadows. He hides himself in the long grass and waits for his prey. It is a deer near the source of the water. Animals come to the source of water to have water, and that's the time the tiger attacks and hunts. Once again, I would say that the poet says that if the tiger was not confined to the zoo cage, he would have been hiding himself behind the long grass near the water body in order to catch its prey, that is the delicious deer. The tiger feels this way because he is trapped and he is forced to lead an imprisoned life. Hope it is clear. Third stanza. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Explanation of the third stanza. Here the poet says, had the tiger been free, he would roar around the houses which were located near the forest. The tiger's natural behavior is to roar or snore or make rough sound. So a tiger roars near the houses situated at the edge of the jungle. The tiger shows his white canine teeth and claws to scare the villagers. Or the poet says, terrorize the villagers. It is not that the tiger enjoys scaring the villagers. It's just the tiger's nature or habit to do so. As we know, tigers are ferocious and powerful animals. In brief, the stanza tells that the poet wants to tell that the tiger would have terrorized the residents of the villages around the forest area. But in reality, the situation of a tiger is totally opposite to this. The powerful beast in the cage is described as being powerless and agonized, says the poet. Fourth stanza. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. The explanation of the fourth stanza. In this stanza, the poet expresses deep sympathy at the plight of the tiger. The tiger is imprisoned in a cell made of concrete. It's locked in the cage in the zoo. His strength cannot break the iron bars of the cage, or the strong bars of the cage stop him from coming out. He walks in his cage up and down, but he pays no heed to the visitors who come to the zoo. Here, ignoring visitors means he pays no heed to the visitors. He is angry. He knows that none of the visitors would help him out of the captivity. To tell in simple words, the tiger was confined in a stage which was made up of strong building material, and he was helpless there. He showed no interest at the visitors, therefore never tried to terrorize them. Instead, he walked angrily in the limited space of the cage. The last stanza. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Now the explanation. Now the poet takes the reader to the cage where the tiger hears the sound of the patrolling cars. Here, patrolling cars of the zoo authorities come to check if all the animals are safe in the cage. The poet says that during night, the tiger stalls alone within the limited space of the cell. When he hears the siren of the patrolling vehicles of police, he stares at the shining stars in the night sky. Let me say in brief, the tiger looks at the stars with longing in the eyes, perhaps like stars that shine in darkness that give us light. He too hopes to be back in the jungle one day. Thus, the poet ends the poem where it had started. The poet conveys an important message that the wild animals should be in their natural habitat. The poem here highlights a contrast between freedom and captivity. What message does the poet give? The poet gives us the message that animals at the zoo do not live happily. They lead a miserable life in the cages. They want to be in their natural habitats. They should be taken care of in zoos. The poetical devices. First one, rhyme scheme. It is A, B, C, B. Personification. Inanimated object or an abstract idea as a person having human traits is personification. In this poem, the tiger is addressed as he, meaning it is treated as human. Metaphor. Metaphor compares two objects without using like or as. In this poem, the pads of the tiger is compared to velvet. Now let me tell about the poet. George Leslie Norris was a prize-winning Welsh poet and short story writer. He is considered as the most important Welsh writers of the post-war period, and his literary works have won many prizes. Thank you. This is Padma. Goodbye. See you again.